This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by Maxi Hughes late at night here in Leeds. Maxi, I appreciate you sticking around, last but not least by any means.
Top of the bill,
Yeah, top of the bill, that's it, top of the bill. Yeah, you should be getting used, should be thanking me in fact.
Yeah.
But yeah, here we are, how are you?
I'm all good, mate. Yeah, exciting, isn't it, for you guys? New channel now, Boxing News. But yeah, you know, just finished training. But yeah, all good, mate.
I'm glad to hear it. It is exciting times ahead for not just for us, but for you as well. George Kambosos, it's no secret now, Maxi. It is the fight which will be next for you. It's just waiting for the official confirmation. So on your part, to your knowledge, what has been the hold up in an official announcement?
I believe what's happened now is obviously we did the deal early on this year. I believe it was February, but it were all agreed to go to Australia, fight George in either Melbourne, Perth or Sydney. Venue was still to be confirmed, but then because it was going to be Lou DiBella, we signed with Lou, and I think what's happened is Lou's now done a deal, and Top Rank and ESPN are interested in this fight, so it's moved to the States, which is better. You know, I were happy to go to Australia and beat George, but now that we get to go to the States, I've always wanted to fight in the States. You know, I think it's every fighter's dream to be top at bill in the States. But now I believe the hold-up is I spoke to Lou last week. It's debating either Top Rank or ESPN are deciding whether it's going to be better to be in Vegas or to be in Oklahoma. I don't mind where it is. I know for my lot...
I'm sure I know where you'd rather it be.
Yeah, well, my friends and family, obviously they saw the stuff about Vegas. We're coming. You know, just over 100 people were like, we're ready to book. When can we book? I think one person has already booked the flights and hotel in Vegas. And I've had to get in touch to say, hopefully you can get it changed over because we might not be going there on that day. But I believe it's with Top Rank, and Lou says it's very close to being all finalised and sorted and announced. But you know, either way, wherever it is, you know, a ring ultimately a ring's a ring, and the same job will be done. It's just like I say, everybody knows now. It's no secret. George has spoke about it. Lou's been speaking about it. It's just a formality now of official announcement and official confirmation of date and venue. But yeah, you know, it's full steam ahead.
Maxi, obviously we've seen George Kambosos lose successively to Devin Haney, and I've made this point to Josh and to Sean. That style would very much so seem perfect for you in terms of George Kambosos. He loves to come forwards, loves to try and be aggressive, and we know that you very much like to box on the back foot, very good jab behind you, and you pick your shots very well. Is this kind of the perfect type of fight, the perfect style for you to look your best against?
Absolutely, yeah. Like I say before, any big fight, you know, in recent last couple of years, I'll just do what's necessary to win. That's all I'll do. I'm just hell bent on winning and getting the job done, and that's what I'll do. Whatever George brings, I know he said, I think he's called me in his quote a crafty veteran. But yeah, you know, he'll see just how crafty I am, and you know, like what's George had now 22 fights. He has. You know, he's boxed at high level in Teofimo and Devin, and George has climbed the mountain. He's reached that mountain, winning all the belts in the Champions Back Garden when he beat Teo. You know, I were really rooting for him. You know, I've admired what George has done, and being a Kambosos fan, what he's done is brilliant. And to get my opportunity now against him, you know, it's why I'm in boxing. I want these big fights. You know, that George said, like how this fight came about. Obviously, George said yes straight away, which, you know, I was so pleased for. So yeah, looking forward to the fight and how it's gonna come about. But you know, I'd see nothing but myself winning.
How do you beat him?
Just like I said, however means necessary. You know, I'll be that crafty veteran. You know, I'll old man him. I'm the older man, so I'll old man him.
Maxi, just with the fight itself, it is somewhat, if it takes place in America, neutral ground. Obviously, you're from Britain, he's from Australia, but with his deal with Top Rank and ESPN, do you have any concerns at all? Scoring if it did go to the cards.
I'd like to think that that's not going to be a factor at all. Like I say, it is neutral ground. So we'll see. The right man should win, regardless of who's done deals with who. You hope that don't play parts in it. I know it does happen, but I'll just have to make sure that it's clinical and there can be no argument.
Do you hold any disappointment or frustration with Matchroom knowing that they, in this scenario, were unable to get you that big fight, one which was spoken about for a while? You kept on getting those wins in your back pocket and never quite secured a big fight under them. Are there any frustrations towards them?
A little, but I don't hold no grudges. They said they tried, so I can only take the word for it. But yeah, how a conversation was with Eddie before the Kid Galahad. Obviously, there were talk of it being Linares for the 24th of September last year, which I had the explanation of Eddie of why that couldn't happen. So, he gave me an option. He says, you can fight Kid Galahad, or we can wait to try and make the Linares fight. He says, I don't trust the whole Linares camp with his managers, promoters. He says he's got a lot to deal with. He says, I can try and make that fight for you, but if it falls off, you won't fight this year. So you can fight Kid Galahad on 24th of September. It's a high-profile fight. You beat him, which I want you to. He's obviously buttering me up. Then you'll be guaranteed a big fight because obviously Kid is... and I wasn't really interested in that fight, to be honest, with Kid Galahad. But I was able to swallow it because of his accolades, British, Commonwealth, European, world champion. Not just a world champion of 5 to 10 years ago. It was literally world champion in his last fight. So, I thought, yeah, you know what? I'll beat Kid Galahad, and like Eddie said, I'll be in line for a big fight. Which was frustrating that it didn't happen. And I ended up having to get myself this big fight. I did it solo.
Maxi, the Gary Cully fight was offered, was swiftly turned down by all accounts. Why was you not necessarily quite open to that one?
I felt it were a bit of a kick in teeth. Obviously Eddie had promised this big fight, and I thought, well, they're saying Cully's going to be this and that, but I know because he's from Ireland, he's not in the UK rankings, but he's not fought nobody domestically. He had life and death with Craig Woodruff, nearly got sparked out. We got that decision. He's obviously looking at me, I'm top guy over here. I felt he wanted to, and rightly so, he's obviously looking above him, like I'm looking above me. He's felt like if he tries to get the fight with me, he gets to bypass domestic level and tries to get himself at that level, which I can't blame him. That's what we're all doing. We're all looking up here, looking above. But in the end, I said to my manager Steffi, I says, all right, go back to Matchroom and ask them if they can make the Cully fight a world title eliminator. For one of the other 4 bodies, because I know they just got him ranked with WBA. Or something or other, but they come back and said no, we can't. Something to do with how Cully's ranked or something like that. And I also said, can you promise me after I beat Cully a big fight like you've been promising me? And the message back, we just no, we will try our best, but we can't make promises. And I thought, well, that's just not good enough. After everything I've done in this sport and everything that Eddie's promised me, not just once, he hasn't just said it, oh, I shouldn't have said that. He said it numerous times, time and time. Anyone who'd listen, he'd say, I want to get Maxi this big fight. And that was a bit of a kick in the teeth again. So I thought, well, why? Why should I take a few steps back to fight Cully? And, in my head I was like, well, once I've beat Cully, I'm going to get no credit because he's not a world-rated opponent, and where do I go from there? Matchroom can't even guarantee me a big fight after that, so I'm in limbo. I dropped into top 10 in Ring magazine. I'm in WBC top 15, IBF top 10. I hold the IBO, so I just felt I deserved better. So that's when I took it upon myself to do my own looking out, which I was out of contract, so I was within my rights to speak to other promoters, and I got myself the Kambosos fight.
Just to come back to the Kambosos fight very quickly, he's mentioned, what's beyond this fight for him, certain names that he's mentioned, certain fights that he wants. Do you feel like he's overlooking you?
Probably. Everybody does, I'm just that guy who don't get loads of credit, maybe because I'm not a gobshite. I'm just down to earth me, and, that I'm always overlooked, looked past. But like the other guys, they made that mistake. For me, it's George, and obviously the fight is for my belt plus an IBF eliminator. So after beating George, it's obviously a step towards fighting for the IBF as well as retaining my IBO. So that's just the plan, beat a top name, and start making some big money.
I'm sure you'd love for Devin Haney fight. It does seem like beyond Vasyl Lomachenko, he's very close to moving up to 140. So those Devin Haney, that is. Those titles would obviously become vacant and what have you. But before we come on to him, there was a Ryan Garcia fight which he was in talks with about. It never materialised. We saw him recently stopped by Gervonta Davis. He's said he has every intention now to move up to 140. But any chance on revisiting a potential Ryan Garcia fight? Would you move up to 140 for a Ryan Garcia fight?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, let's just look at George. But in the future, obviously, I'm about trying to secure me and my family's future. Obviously, a fight with Ryan, if it's for a belt or not, it's high payday, isn't it? So, that's a fight I would definitely look at. And I was glad that they both, it finally happened. A big fight. And my prediction was nearly right. What I said for that fight, where I said, I believe Tank will stop Ryan between 6 and 12. I says, but at the time of the stoppage, I think Tank might be down on cards, because he usually likes to take his time, work his opponent out, lets him make one mistake, boom, and it's all over. But he obviously, Ryan come out flying, which I was quite surprised at. And fair play to him, but the man. Tank won.
Maxi Haney-Loma next weekend. I'm sure you'll be tuning in as it's your weight. What's your thoughts?
I think I love watching Loma as a southpaw and somebody who studies the game, and what he's shown over years is brilliant to watch. I would like him to win. Haney seems to have, and rightly so, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's the youngest undisputed champion ever. But I see a Haney win. I think he'll do what's necessary to win it. He's huge for weight. We've seen when he makes the weight, he don't look great. But yeah, I think his size, his youth, will be the factor.
Want to go to the cards?
Yeah, I think he will. Yeah, I think it'll go. I think Haney he's very disciplined. He showed he can be very disciplined over 12 and do what he needs to do to win.
Just a final one before I let you go, Maxi. I've had Josh Warrington here today. He seems to be a little frustrated with how things currently lie with his own career, not having a date yet. Just talk to me about what you expect to see next for him and his positioning in trying to re-secure a world title.
Obviously I was in his corner in his last fight, which, I thought he were unlucky for it to go against him. It were a fight that it could have gone to Josh and nobody would argue. And obviously gutted as all the team were. But what I saw Eddie come in after, and his words, what he'd promised him after, that's not materialised. A bit like myself, he's been promised stuff, it's not materialised, so it's frustrating. And we've had chats, and he's let off, comes in to let off steam and stuff. It's frustrating, but He's got a sensible head on his shoulders, good team around him. So, you know, things should start to fall into place, and I'm sure he'll get back on top. You know, three time. I can hear a 3-time coming.
All right, Maxi, it's a pleasure as always. It's gone very late here in Leeds, and I'm sure you want to go home and put your feet up for the night. You've had a busy session, so thank you for speaking to me.
Cheers, pal. Thank you.